us jump right into the content. And let's have a little bit of fun. Tricking my way into NYC's billionaire penthouses. Oh hell yeah. Let's do it. Oh, what? Graphics card, are you okay?
Know who you're dealing with. As a real estate agent, you never really know who you're dealing with. She could have been an actual billionaire. She could have been a scam artist, and I would never know the difference.
This project is kind of like a Robin Hood project. I pretended to be a billionaire.
We talked about this before. But most of the highest end real estate is just empty. It's just a way for oligarchs to wash their money and put it in America, preferably in like one single place, so that they can more easily access that cash via mortgages, so they can clean that money. And yeah, I mean, there is a speculative investment element too, but mostly it's just a dumping ground for stolen money.
So I can get into the most exclusive apartments in New York.
We're not just selling a building. The reason why people are living here is because of the lifestyle that we're offering.
85 million, 10 million, 16 million.
These people are the 1% of the 1%.
I think it's really obscene that like these buildings exist.
Your maid will be getting ready with dinner while you're just having one of the finest champagnes in a soaking tub with your husband. Imagine waking up every morning to these views. Gabriella, I really see you living here.
The cheapest property I've been to was 10 million, and the most expensive was 85 million. They manipulate the cities to the disadvantage of everyone else in the cities. My name is Andy Schmid, and in 2016, I spent 3 months in New York at an artist residency program. Basically, this whole idea
Level-headed,
started
colorful meta. Thank you both.
With the biggest cliche that I went up to the Empire State Building, and I saw the views, and I basically realized that there are lots of buildings that are as tall or even taller than the Empire State Building, and I just basically was really curious about what the view from those buildings look like. That's when I started to work on my book and my project. I chose 25 buildings, high, ultra luxury towers.
Mikey Bear, thanks for the 5
93
gifted.
stories above the city. This is what $81 million gets you. A full penthouse, 8,400 square feet, with floor-to-ceiling views of a metropolis.
8,400? What do you even
My goal
do with
was
that
really
much
to
space?
show those views that are considered to be the best views you can privately own in New York. First, I really just wanted to photograph the views for the book. As I was going deeper and deeper in this world, it became more and more obvious that it's like something totally bizarre and crazy. I was like laying in bed, and really I was just thinking, how could I get in those buildings? I remember I told about the project to the curator who was working at the residency, and she told me no way they would ever let you in without a credit check. The only way for that is to pretend to be a billionaire who is searching for an apartment. From the moment on that I started to work on the project, this was pretty much the only thing I could think about. Write it down, check the address, go home, check if there's any real estate available, call the agency, and usually next day go and see it and take a picture of the view. And so really for 3 months I was living in between this Gabriella, which was my billionaire persona, and myself back and forth on the A-line from Brooklyn to Manhattan.
Well, once she was in a few of them, she could set up like an Instagram account or something and just post pictures of her being in other apartments, and that would be like enough social proof probably to get you into even more.
My name is Daniel Rosenstein. I've worked in real estate for 4 years. I met Andy 2 years ago when she was infiltrating New York's most exclusive properties. I was doing Airbnb in my apartment in the Upper West Side.
And first I remember that he asked me, what are you doing in New York? And when he said he's a real estate agent, I was actually a bit hesitant.
Morning, Chad. I had to break news to my coworkers that we aren't getting a lump sum paycheck that the rest of the state workers are getting, but we aren't along with the rest of higher ed institutions. It really sucks because I was one of the people to relay that we were going to get this money a few months ago. It really sucks because people lose trust in us as stewards and our union overall. I'm sorry that happened to you guys. Sorry you're getting fucked. What happened? What happened?
And to tell him what I came here for.
She, told me that she was making a book. So I think at first I was like, oh, is she mocking our profession? I'm just a pawn in your project here.
I mean, you're a real estate agent. That is the most pathetic parasite profession. No offense to real estate agents in the chat that give subs, but like, bros, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
And then the more she was talking about it, the more I saw her point of view, which is almost nobody has access to these apartments. You have to go through a doorman, you have to reach out to a real estate agent. It's not a normal real estate market where you can show up to an open house. She asked a few questions, I think how to navigate getting into buildings. I told her to use the term, we're looking for a pied-à-terre or second home in the city. A lot of really wealthy people look for second, third, fourth, fifth homes. And she, at that point, had essentially created her whole persona.
Gabriela is my actual middle name because at the beginning I didn't know if they would check my passport ever. And actually at some of the properties, they did check it. And I remember back then I got really obsessed by many of these small details that I need to do my nails and I need to have proper shoes, proper bag. In order to do this project, I needed to bring my camera and photograph the view. This made me obviously very unusual in the eyes of the agents, but I also realized that the stranger I act, the more convincing it is that I'm actually a billionaire and I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, that makes
really,
sense.
really...
Like that makes a lot of sense. Like the more eccentric, the more entitled you act, the more asshole-ish you act, the more people are going to believe that like, oh yeah, this person's just used to always getting their way. This person's probably rich.
Nervous at this very first viewing. The agent started to ask me if I have a chef, if I have a nanny, if we have private chauffeur. So I just randomly answered yes and no. And all of these answers kind of became part of what Gabriela was.
Tell your husband every morning that this is really where you want to be.
There are a few different types
Look
of
at those
agents.
shots over
There
Central
are the
Park,
ones
dude.
who are kind of
And
like...
the thing that makes those views valuable is the government set aside land. You know, if it was just worthless private development and there was no park view, most of these places would be fucking hideous, in my opinion.
Very natural and just showing you, here is the kitchen, here is the bathroom, this is the price, and there is the complete other end of the spectrum.
You will feel, Gabriela, it is like going on a journey from the sidewalks of 19th century old New York to the sidewalks of Florence.
I actually might just prefer the 21st century.
So imagine your daughter running around saying words in Hungarian.
It was really hard to kind of like keep a straight face in those viewings. I mean, it was like really bizarre what they were telling me.
Sit down, Gabriela. It really is a moment for you. Just tell your husband.
I love this guy.
he loves you
Holy fuck.
And he wants you to be happy. I'm sure he will not say no to you if you let him know this is really your first choice.
Oh my
Because this ultra luxury segment of the real estate is actually now not really going that well. The newer the development, the crazier the amenities they have, because there's really this like huge competition. One of the things that became an absolute standard for these buildings is the golf simulator room, Michelin-starred private restaurant in the building.
Private restaurant, Michelin starred. Also, that pool sucks. 4 feet? This pool blows.
Theater, swimming pool, obviously.
Equinox gym, they have children's playroom, a billiards room, a conference room, and everything in between.
In one of the
That
penthouses,
no one uses
it
ever.
was that they would give you a yacht as a present when you buy the apartment. A yacht.
So you
Absolute
mentioned the number
waste.
of people who are actually living in poverty, according to the federal poverty numbers. But we all know, living in New York, it's a whole different ballgame.
The average rent across the city has returned to nearly pre-pandemic levels.
We built fewer homes in the 2010s than in any decade going back to the 1960s.
That's the problem. That's neoliberalism in a nutshell. We built fewer homes Last year, supposedly the wealthiest we've ever been because the economy line go up, right? We built fewer homes than we did going back to the 60s when the population was what, a half of what it is now? That's why your prices are exploding. There's no supply because the market does not provide supply. Supply and demand is bullshit. Profit is what matters. And constraining the market artificially gives the most profit. When you buy a piece of land and you sit on it and the price of the land goes up because there's such a low availability of housing, you make money without doing a thing. Totally worthless. This is where you need government direction. We're never going to get out of the housing crisis with electing a Democrat like Joe Biden or a Republican, no matter, I mean, they're fucking useless. Pathetic. Prices going up 10% a fucking month practically in some places, and they can't build houses. The housing shortage is around 5 million. America is short on more than 5 million homes. This is almost certainly an underestimation. And they're building these empty fucking billionaire places where they give you a yacht. Fucking gross.
1960s.
I think the way poverty is usually portrayed is from the bottom. So talk about homelessness, or you talk about people who cannot afford housing. I think when you see it from this like very top of the sphere, it somehow is also very telling. The buildings that you can see from every single corner of the city are these ultra luxury real estate, which are not accessible for anyone really. Apartments and buildings are standing 60 to 70%
60 to 70% empty.
Commercial and residential wonderland.
Just a worthless thing to do.
And most expensive restaurants and condos.
If you are looking to call Steinway Tower home, studios start at $7.7 million.
Listen, you know, not to be not sympathetic to the homeless, but if you live in 157, you're paying millions of dollars to live there. Do you want a homeless shelter in your building? I don't think so.
We are not building enough housing for everybody who needs a place to live.
Here's what it's
Fucking
like
disgusting.
living in the smallest apartment in New York. Wherever your expectations are, lower them.
So these buildings are kind of really soulless in a sense. They are super standardized.
The trends that I see in these properties are a lot of the same finishes and materials used. Some of the floor plans are the exact same. I think it's a really challenging task to create something different when you're working with essentially the same floor plan, which is a
completely
tall square or a rectangle in the
fucking
sky.
Oh wow.
Worthless.
Who was the interior designer?
Deborah Burke, there is no one better in design at the moment.
So you have always just some very special type of marble in the apartment that the agents would always highlight.
The marble is Siberian, which is now the best on the market.
Then you would have the oak floor, which is always the best type of oak floor. And there's like really nothing that would make any of these buildings stand out, to be honest. But it's not really surprising when you realize that it's solely a form of investment, most of the cases. So it's really not
Let's
about...
make the value of that investment go down. What do you say, chat? How about we make the value of that investment go down? That's my politics. Ruin these investments.
living, and it's not about having a soul. And it shows. It's really obvious when you are there. One of the most striking things was how agents are trying to always go out of their way to tell me that no one else lives in these buildings, that I'm not going to have any neighbors.
A lot of these billionaire
Why would you
road
go to New York City for no neighbors? It's fucking freak shit. Go live in Montana. What the fuck is this? These fucking freaks, man. These absolute fucking freaks.
are investments for overseas and local people.
Oh, investments for overseas people. I think we have a word for that, chat. Oligarch. Where do you think those people got their money? Where do you think they got their money? Where do you think they got their fucking money? Where do you think? They stole it. They're criminal.
So they'll rent them out, or they'll just own them, have them sit empty for a number of years and resell them. It's a safe investment. It holds value over time. But what that translates to is buildings sitting empty. There's a trickle-down effect. So once the hyper-expensive properties become even more expensive, it raises the value of everything else beneath it.
I get very often the comment that this project is kind of like a Robin Hood project, in the sense that I'm getting the views which other people or most people cannot see to the public. And it's like being so high up, it's cool. But then it didn't feel good to be there, in a way. Or one of the very big problems of these buildings, they are casting sometimes hundreds and hundreds of meters of shadows. For example, over the Central Park.
Look at this! Look at this! Fucking Demo-rat politicians were bribed to allow this. Fucking dude, seriously. Demon rat politicians were bribed to allow this. Fuck you. Holy shit. This is the Cuomo party. This is the Biden party right here. Fucking filth. I gotta be honest. I hate this shit. I don't like it. I don't like skyscrapers. I think they're hideous. There's a few that look cool, like the Chrysler building is maybe the only like decent one. Most of them are ugly. You know the GM building in Detroit? Tell me this isn't fucking terrible. It looks like out of a fucking it looks like it's out of a fucking like shitty set from RoboCop. Like a model, like a fake picture. Fuck you. Like look at this. It's hideous. It's like something you would make with a model in like a shitty 70s like action film. It's garbage. Like Paul Verhoeven made this building. It's ugly. Ugly. Ugh. So is this thing. It looks like shit.
Or over other people's, up until then sunny living rooms, or just over the streets. And so somehow...
There are usually very strong arguments against developing skyscrapers and urban planning as they are cost inefficient and energy inefficient, taking far too many resources to create when simple 5 to 20 story buildings are far more cost efficient and energy efficient. Like when I'm in Europe, most of the time the buildings are like this. Here, let me show you a picture from Vienna. They're like these are what? 1, 2, these are like 5, 6, 7, 10 story buildings. To me, this is a hell of a lot more attractive of a place to be than, let me just put Detroit downtown and show you what I'm talking about. Then here you go. Here we go. Fuck you. Okay. You get my point. Or this is a great example. This sucks. I'm sorry. This sucks. Would any of you rather be here than here? I'm just asking. You tell me if I'm off base here. There's not shadows over everything. You can get there's all these cool historical touches. You see art. There's monuments. There's a nice cafe that you could sit out. It's all walkable. This sucks. This sucks. I don't know. Just this is my opinion.
These buildings that are not even lived in. But then it didn't feel good to be there, in a way. Or one of the very big problems of these buildings, they are casting sometimes hundreds and hundreds of meters of shadows. For example, over the Central Park or over other people's, up until then sunny living rooms, or just over the streets. And so somehow these buildings that are not even lived in are taking away such natural things from the rest of the city as sunlight.
There's a lot of money in New York, and I think there will always continue to be a lot of money in New York. I do think it's going to be more segregated.
What I've learned from this project is
if you get your way,
really
you scum.
just how obscene differences are in society, I guess, and how this can translate into this very literal physical form in the city, and how that is impacting everything around it.
Damn, what a queen. What a queen. Honestly, what a queen. What a fucking queen. Back in my day, we lived in mud huts. These stone buildings are hideous. The point is, nobody is living in those buildings. You get an 80-story building. It's got 40 apartments in it, and 3 of them have someone living in them. It's fucking worthless, dude. We were watching Tricking My Way into New York City's Billionaire Penthouse. Fucking gross, man. Fucking gross, dude. You have an obligation to like, comment, and subscribe.